going to come in and tell me how I should lead my organization? Really?
Yes. And I will say on a personal note, I've got 20 years under my belt. And as much as I don't look it, I do. I have that expertise. I have that experience and background. But yes, I have walked into, rooms of executive teams and they're looking at me like, you're too young to be here. You're too young to guide us.
All right, well, welcome to the Eighth Gear Podcast. I'm your host, Sabron Walker, and my co-host,
Joe Ferracci.
It's going to be a great show today. And Joe, you want to take the start here?
All right, well, I want to welcome, we have a powerhouse woman that is going to be on this show. Tasha understands leadership at its core. She's a certified executive coach, a leadership strategist. Tasha, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. So, okay, I gave that intro. Now tell us what that actually all means.
Well, I think we should say she's from where you're from, like where you're from. I mean, you live here in Florida now, but She's from I would say upstate New York. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So this is where it all began. She's known you for 20 years.
Known Tasha for 20 years, started off in personal banking.
She was 12 and she was behind the teller, took your money. She's
ageless.
Yeah. I mean, clearly you can tell. You look at her, she's 32 now? So she must have been 12.
She's...
I wish. Thank you for that very generous compliment.
Awesome. Okay. So again, certified executive coach, leadership leader strategist. What does all that stuff mean? Sabron and I are like, man, she leads. Okay.
Well, then, yeah, what can you do for me? I'll call you. I run a marketing company. Joe runs an investment real estate company. What could you do for us?
Yeah, so there's a plethora of things that I can support businesses, leaders, executive teams with, spanning from leadership development. So first and foremost, I work for an executive consulting firm in downtown Buffalo. So specializing in customized in-house leadership development programs aligned with the competencies that company deems most relevant for the future of their leaders. In addition, as Joe mentioned, certified executive coach. So I work one-on-one with executives and senior leaders to really accelerate their potential. So majority of them are deemed high potential, typically in succession roles or in looking to ready them for that next level. So I'll work with them one-on-one through a series of psychometric assessments, development planning, and then individual one-on-one monthly coaching.
Okay, so that I gotta stop because it all sounds like complicated. I mean, how hard is this? Does everyone anyone who has their own business or I mean, you have to work for a multinational company? I mean, I guess shed some light on that because it sounds like I would need someone like you if I was working in some multinational corporation.
Yeah, and certainly we do that, Joe. One of my largest clients is headquartered in Montreal, $5 billion global manufacturing company. So certainly, yes, they're calling on us for that support. But I also work with local nonprofits here in Western New York that, don't have a very significant budget to work with, but recognize the impact that development can bring to their employees and leaders inside the organization. So we really span the gamut, pretty wide spectrum of, small local nonprofits, $40 million, all the way up to $5 billion global corporations. So it's really, the passion to invest in your talent must be there. I would say that's kind of first and foremost, kind of a foundational component to the work that we do.
When you walk into a company, are you sometimes brought in by leadership to go through and do your own survey of who are the people to focus on, or are you brought in already targeting?
Yes, we do often. We're currently working with a local foundation here that was looking to evaluate their talent for their talent strategy well into the future, spanning the next 3 to 5 years. And we did go in, we assessed all of their top talent within the foundation. We're able to make recommendations and work closely with that CEO to plan strategically the future of what that organizational design looked like over the next 3 years. So yes, we'll go in and make those recommendations, evaluating that talent. Or other times, companies have already identified that high potential talent, and we'll go in and either confirm that they are accurate in that, and then help them with the next steps of developing them and readying them for the next level position.
I got to ask, have you ever walked in and we had a bit of a blow up where they're like, why didn't you pick me? Has there been any like crazy, holy crap moments for you where you're like, oh crap, this is getting weird?
Of course. I mean, that's the fun in it, right? It's the challenge. Yes, absolutely. Sometimes leaders don't have that self-awareness. So they believe that they deserved the next level position. And maybe through our evaluations, through looking at the strategy for the business, maybe the business is moving in a different direction. And the leadership styles and competencies and behaviors that once served that company really well are no longer what they need to take them to the next level. So, we have ran into that before, and, it's never a fun conversation. We always try to handle it with care and compassion. But at the end of the day, we want to be sure that we are providing an accurate assessment to really aid that company in being successful to drive the results it's chasing.
But to Sabran's point, like, have you ever walked in a room where they're like, who the heck are you? You're going to tell me, you're going to come in and tell me how I should lead my organization? Really?
Yes. Yeah. And I will say on a personal note, although I've been doing this for, 20 plus years, Joe, as you know, you started with me when I was just young and out of college, but, I've got 20 years under my belt, and as much as I don't look it, I do, I have that expertise, I have that experience and background, but yes, I have walked into, rooms of executive teams and they're looking at me like, you're too young to be here. You're too young to guide us. But I think the benefit that I would say that we bring is the multitude of industries that we work in, spanning, the nonprofit sector, private, public, corporations. We bring a wealth of insight and innovative solutions into the companies that we work with. But yeah, sometimes they look at me a little crazy, like, what is this young kid doing here? And then I have to kind of walk through my
what would you say to the young people watching this? Who like have that in their head? I'm going to walk in this business meeting, and I'm going to try and lead. And I just, I have this notion that people are going to perceive me as this young person. And like, how do you,
doesn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I know I felt like that, right?
So for sure.
Now I got like the grays that just kind of go along with, age. And I'm like, all right, I don't have to prove anything. But when
insecurities,
when I first started off, I'm like standing in front of an audience thinking, are people thinking, hey, who's this like 20 something year old that's going to be speaking and telling me what to do? What would you say?
My initial reaction to that, Joe, is, I never go in telling someone what to do in their own business. It's always a very collaborative co-creation of solution for them. So oftentimes I'll spend a good majority of the early stages of our interaction just listening, asking a lot of questions. I get really curious and inquisitive around what are their pain points, what are their challenges, what are the outcomes that they're striving for, as opposed to just going in with a preconceived notion of a solution that's just going to fit. Most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time there's nuances that we need to be creative and innovate, through. In addition to that, I think to your question around, my credibility and looking younger than I am, it's a bit of patience, it's a bit of humility, and it's a little bit of giving it time. Initially they're going to make an assumption, and I humbly have a bit of confidence in that to say, okay, give me 2 weeks, give me a day, give me 2 weeks, give me a month, and I'll be able to prove the credentials that I bring. So it's a little bit of patience, it's a little bit of trust, it's a little bit of confidence all rolled into one.
I think it's a huge point to ask a lot of questions for anybody in that kind of position or a young entrepreneur. Get yourself in the mindset. It's better to let them talk and ask a lot of questions than just come out firing like you know it all, because they are assuming you don't. So make them give you information and do data collection to then work with it. What do you think?
Absolutely. That's exactly what we're doing, is we're just mining for information. We're helping them to really assess, is this a symptom or is this the root cause issue? And oftentimes, initially, what will be communicated to myself and my team is just a symptom. And they haven't quite mined for that root cause. They haven't been able to surface that root cause, challenge, problem, issue, whatever it may be. So we work with them to help them really identify what that is, so that we can provide an appropriate solution to them.
I love that, because they know.
Is this something that everyone needs?
I would say absolutely. I mean, if they're looking to grow their business, if they're looking to accelerate the talent and potential inside their organization, Joe, what I would say is where companies or leaders may not need this or want this, is the type of companies, cultures, leaders that just don't believe in it, that think it's soft, that think it's not going to drive value, impact, that it's too costly. Those are the clients that, we're not necessarily going to work with. They don't align with our philosophy. They don't align with the target client, that we typically want to be working with. So I would say there are some out there that, it may not be the right fit for, but if they believe in this type of work, if they believe in investing in their talent, for retention, for succession, you name it, then certainly yes. I would say every company, every leader could benefit from this type of work. Okay,
I have a selfish question then. Okay, so there's me. I'm the CEO of my marketing company. I have a deputy operations manager, and we have a social media manager. This is a standard digital marketing company. Do it all, websites, YouTube, all this stuff. So I have about 12 staff. They're all over the country, working remote aside from our office guys, which is only 3 of us that work in the office. How would you, if I wanted to move myself up to really be a CEO and have I don't know what you could call it, executive director, a manager, someone who is running the business besides me, what do I do?
So I think that, a lot of companies right now are struggling with that remote aspect, and how are you seen? How are you observed? How are you viewed in a fashion to be remembered when those promotional conversations are happening? And I think it's really a great opportunity to begin to self-advocate, to raise your hand for stretch assignments, to, be in a position where you are seen and where your skills are able to be observed. Staying relevant, staying in the forefront is really something that is harder now in this hybrid and remote world. But certainly, if they have the ambition, they're going to be raising their hand. They're going to be finding those opportunities. And certainly from a CEO's vantage point, how are you looking for that high potential talent? How are you carving out space to meet with your employees one-on-one, to understand their aspirations, understand their motivations, and also simultaneously find those stretch assignments to be able to develop them in-house. So I think the responsibility is actually on both ends of that coin, not only for the employee that's interested in moving up, but also for that CEO as they're looking across, the organization to see, all right, where's my potential and how do I invest in that potential?
Okay, one more thing for me, and then I'm going to let you. So, okay, but now I want to move up. I think my COO can do it.
He's getting free consulting right now.
Right now, this is free consulting
this is
for
what's
me.
Happening right now.
So I think my COO can do it. Right. So I want to move up. I want to move her in. Right. I want to get out of the business, and I want to do what I do well at: the sales, the PR, the marketing. Right. Mm-hmm. Build the business to grow it, but not do the running of it. So what do I have to do with her, and what do I have to do with me, or what would be your first step?
First step would be to have a better understanding of what your time frame is to step away from that. So are you looking to step away in 6 months or 3 years? Then the next question would be, okay,
6 months.
6 months. Okay. So pretty short time frame, right? So then the next question would be, okay, is this individual ready to step into the role? Or do they have some skill competency gaps that really need to be closed at a very rapid pace? So we would begin to look at, all right, what is the responsibilities that you would want this individual to take care of in the CEO position? Do they have it already? Have they been developed and are they ready to go? If they're not ready to go, which oftentimes if you don't have formal succession planning in place, oftentimes they are not ready to go. So we would align them with an executive coach, and we would identify what those skills are that we need to close very rapidly. And we would do, typically over that 6 months, we would do kind of a rapid fire coaching to really accelerate the skills and ready them. And then most likely we would continue on coaching them through that transition into that CEO role for probably an additional 6 months after, to onboard them, to aid them through the transition, and to continue to coach through some of those behaviors that they need added support on.
I think that if Sabran wants you to elaborate any further, you could tell them what your hourly fee is. I don't know how that works if you're on like a yearly contract, but
hey, I got it. I got what I think I got some direction. I'm ready to roll.
Okay.
This is actually very popular. We have a lot of CEOs that are in a very similar position, ready to retire or ready to take a step back. So
he's too young. He's not ready to retire. He's good. He's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Question for you. How do you go? Because to me, this is pretty impressive. Most people get, let's say, stuck in the career path that they choose. They go to school, they get whatever degree, and they're like, this is what I have to do for the rest of my life. You went from personal banking where, I saw you progress in the banking system, right? And you could have kept elevating, going to the next level, and you didn't. You made a complete transition into like what I would consider as a whole other world. What prompted you to do that? How does someone decide in life, I'm successful, I'm making good money, but this ultimately isn't what I want to do. So man, I'm going to fly the coop and I'm jumping on to something else. How did you do that?
There were a few factors that contributed to that transition for me in terms of my career. So being in personal banking for a long time, I loved it. I mean, Joe, you were one of my top clients. We worked very closely together, and I loved it until I didn't. So, after 8 years of doing it, we had acquired a pretty large bank at that time, and we had become very, very corporate. And I lost a lot of that autonomy that I once had to take care of my clients in the fashion that I excelled in. So that was one. The culture changed. I lost my autonomy. The second aspect was, when I had gone to college, I went for psychology. So I have my undergrad in psychology. So I always knew that I was interested in people and understanding people. So it was kind of a nice time to explore leadership development. So I did. I went from personal banking to working for one of the longest running leadership development nonprofits in New York State. So began developing leaders from there. So it was more something I was passionate about and just went back to when my career was kind of stifling at the bank.
What is toxic leadership? Give us a story, example.
Oh, I've worked with a few throughout my almost 10 years working with Catapult. And really, oftentimes it's pretty common behaviors that we see over and over and over again. And, oftentimes it's an arrogance, it's an ego, it's a lack of humility. It's almost like they want to segregate themselves on a pedestal above their team. So there's like this separation of, me versus them. And oftentimes they don't feel that it's advantageous or beneficial to, care about their people. Typically they're lacking emotional intelligence, they're lacking empathy, just no care, no compassion, don't really care about the human element of business, more just focusing on driving results. So I would say typically it's the similar behaviors that we see time and time again that create those toxic cultures inside the companies. Oftentimes, we don't see it right off the bat, though. So they conceal it to some degree. But, as we were talking about, as we get in and we start to mine and we start to ask questions, it begins to surface pretty quickly.
Have you ever had to advise a company to fire somebody?
Absolutely. Yes.
Like Donald Trump style, like you're fired?
I mean, I'm not that tough about it. I'm a little more professional and poised, but yes, we have had to, because oftentimes, those type of employees that we do make strong recommendations, certainly at the end of the day, it's the leader's decision to make, but we have definitely made strong recommendations, because those types of leaders or employees they're cancer to the organization, and they spread very quickly. Those behaviors spread very quickly. And then before you know it, you turn around and your top performers are now underperforming because they're looking to the right and to the left, and they're seeing these toxic employees. They're seeing this cancer inside their department that's getting away with poor behavior. So we will definitely make strong recommendations on that. But at the end of the day, it's the leader's decision ultimately to make.
It's nice being the boss. Yeah, I'm just like, you're done.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So, we always encourage hire slow, fire fast.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually. Being a woman in today's day and age is obviously very different than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. How are you looked at as a leader today? Does it feel any different?
I would say there's definitely more acceptance of women and the upper echelons of leadership in companies today. However, there is still a broken rung, at the management level that women are still tripping up on, whether it's because they're taking care of their families, whether it's because they aren't being developed in a similar fashion to their male counterparts. There's a plethora of reasons, and there's a lot of research out there on that. But I would say we are making progress. However, I would love to see that accelerated over the next several years, so that we can really make a bold, what's the word I'm looking for? A bold contribution to business.
Okay, I want to ask one more question. So, from a woman's perspective, the WNBA, this was kind of going on like a few weeks ago, where the woman, they were wearing these shirts and it said, "We want equal pay," something along those lines. Okay, from a woman's perspective, the women in the WNBA want equal pay to the men in the NBA. In that sort of an instance, do you agree or disagree?
I knew you were going to ask me a tough one. My initial gut reaction would say, I agree. I feel that women should be paid at an equal pay as men. However, when I sink into that reflection a little bit more deeply, right, they're being paid based off of the revenue that they're driving. So my question back to that would be, are they generating a similar revenue that the NBA is? And if so, then absolutely. Okay,
good question. So in this case, they're not. So I'm all for equal pay. And that's why I'm going to throw that question back to you, right? So are you for equal pay if it's not commensurate to what they're actually generating in revenue?
I think it's equality of pay, but it has to be in relative to what's happening.
But here you have in the WNBA, and I know we're going off tangent, but hey, this is all applicable, right? In the WNBA, I don't think they've generated a profit since the league began. So here's this like argument and dispute going on of equal pay, and I'm of the mind, I'm all for women getting equal pay, totally. But when you're not generating the same revenue, then what are you arguing for?
No, it's got to be equality of production equals equality of pay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's a question for Tasha, not you.
Yeah.
I have to agree, although I hesitate, and I'm a bit hesitant to agree. I do, I feel as though it is based on, the revenue, the awareness, the attention, your brand, all of that, I think goes into play. I would love to see it. I'm in full support. I would love to see them be paid, an equal and fair wage. I think there's probably some innovation that might need to happen. I think there's some shifts that might need to happen to attract a bigger, wider base of those that are interested in the WNBA. So a fan base, that was the word I was looking for. So yeah, I think, there's a lot more that probably needs to be done. But I give them credit for having the courage to stand up for themselves and advocate. I would support any female in business that's advocating for equal pay, for, equal performance.
Okay. Fair.
Equal pay for equal performance. I like the way you put that.
I agree with that. Yep. I can definitely agree with that.
Good.
Great, Tasha. Right. Good having
Thanks
you
for
on.
Putting me on the spot, Joe.
Perfect. Yes.
Rapid questions?
Yeah, I think so. Tasha, favorite book?
Ooh, I feel like I have so many. I would say Good to Great by Jim Collins is still one of my oldies but goodies that still rises to the surface.
Fantastic.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I actually appreciate the latest Twister movie that just came out. Back in the day, I loved the old school version. So I'm still, favoriting the new one.
Fantastic. If you could give advice to your 20-year-old self, what would it be?
I would tell her, be brave, be bold, have courage, stay ambitious.
She still, by the way, looks like she did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I'll pay you later. Thanks, Joe.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the 8th Gear Podcast. Hit that like button if you liked what you saw, subscribe, and make sure you hit the notification so you get our future episodes.